A Declaration of Solvency form, known as a DOS, is used in a process called a Members Voluntary Liquidation, known as an MVL. This is actually a solvent liquidation, not to be confused with an insolvent liquidation. The DOS is effectively a balance sheet. So here's an example of a template. Directors will fill in the company number, the name of the company, their names, and sign to say that they're attaching the DOS. And then this is actually the declaration page in the middle there, which is all going to be signed. And then we're going to have the final page, which is the assets and liabilities. An example here to show you of one of my old liquidations. So you can kind of get an understanding of where the bits and pieces go. You can see here on the final page, this is the most important page, the kind of balance sheet page, where it shows the assets that the company has, less its liabilities and the cost of liquidating. And at the bottom there, you'll see there's an estimated surplus after paying all of the debts off. Usually with a members voluntary liquidation, the DOS, you would expect it to be relatively simple because all the assets have usually been sold and converted to cash. All the liabilities, except perhaps some residual taxes, will have been paid in full. There may actually be some physical assets from time to time. For example, the company might have some property and perhaps the shareholders actually want to keep that rather than sell it and convert it to cash. They want to keep the property, and in which case the liquidators can do what's called a distribution in specie. So rather than physically sell that property and pay them the cash, they can distribute the property titles across to the shareholders so that they then become the owners. The DOS needs to declare that the company can and will pay its debts and interest and cost within 12 months. The company needs to be liquidated within 5 weeks of the DOS being sworn, otherwise it is determined as being out of date and a fresh one needs to be dealt with. The majority of directors have to actually swear that form. So sometimes it might mean if there's quite a lot of them, perhaps some of them might want to consider resigning just to make it less of a headache for everybody to all get the same form sworn. Usually the accountants will help produce a declaration of solvency along with the liquidator based on the figures provided by the company's accountants. And I've mentioned a swearing. It needs to be sworn with a firm of solicitors. Most local solicitors will offer this service and charge a nominal fee of about £12 or £15. The swearing of the DOS is actually quite important because if a director swears that and it turns out that it was done falsely or fraudulently, then obviously you can see that there are serious repercussions there because they could actually be liable to imprisonment or a fine or both, which obviously we don't want to happen. Alternatively, there might be times where inadvertently the company was believed to be solvent and was washed through an MVL, and then for whatever reason it transpired that it wasn't solvent. Perhaps a creditor claim came out of the woodwork that was not known about at the time, and that may render the company insolvent. Actually, if that happens, then the liquidator may be forced to put the company into compulsory insolvent liquidation if the shareholders aren't able to plug the gap and pay that liability. The DOS is then filed by the liquidator at company's house within 14 days. The liquidator then uses the DOS as a guide to determine if there are any liabilities due that they need to ensure have been paid, including interest, but more importantly, how much distribution can be paid out to the shareholders.